to the Game Corner, another video game podcast. I am Harrison. I'll be your host today, along with my friends.
Rowan, you might know me as Mocha, and I am done with World Cup.
And Sheldon, you might know me better as Captain Unova.
One of these episodes, one of these recording sessions, we will get that beat correct, and it is
or just
not
never
this time.
Didn't even think it was coming. Like not a thought in my head.
You're sitting there listening, and I'm saying hello. You know it's coming. Anyway, hello, y'all.
It's just a show. It's a show I'm watching.
Oh, fair enough. I'm glad I have such good showmanship.
It's entertaining, yeah.
Anywho, hi. It feels like it's been a while. When we miss a single week, it seems like all else just goes out the window.
It does. Or multiple weeks.
Yeah, I guess you've been gone.
Yep.
I think all of us have had one heck of a fortnight. There you go. That's pseudo gaming related. Y'all want to use that as small talk real quick?
Sure.
You and I actually met in real life for once, so that's cool.
Yeah, we had Dragon Con. There's a tweet going around. Not going around. It just is there. Like we said in the last episode, we touched, and it was great. So now the last two things is to get you two together, and then all of us.
And we're somehow the closest, and yet trying to find a way.
At the regionals, man, I think that's gonna be it.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. Orlando, here we come. Yeah, and then Sheldon, you and I, we have something in common.
We do.
Drastic car troubles.
Yes.
Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I mean, I can, I guess.
Oh,
so
right. Yours happened first, so
yeah, I totaled my truck. So short and sweet of it. Kind of got T-bone coming out of my neighborhood.
I was like, yeah, it wasn't your fault, was it?
It was a no fault.
Oh, okay. We're gonna say it wasn't your fault then.
Yeah. Technically,
so
no.
Your car was totaled. You didn't total it.
Yeah, my truck was totaled. So I got to pay out for that, and now I got to find something new to drive around.
Yeah, that doesn't sound particularly fun. But at least now with your wife no longer working away.
Yeah. So she's back home. Yeah, that'll make it a lot easier.
I don't know if she took a car. I don't know what y'all's plan was there, but that's a different story.
I've been on bird scooters for the past several years of my life. So.
That's a good point.
My parents had a couple of vehicles, so they let me borrow one.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
In the meantime here.
Yeah. Oh, I just meant like scanning the little scooters with your phone and
those things
going around 10 miles an hour on a highway,
are so fun and so dangerous.
They are a lot of fun. We were talking about Dragon Con. I was like going back and forth to our house and back for stuff we forgot. I was just like, man, this is a major road, and I'm going like 12 miles an hour.
You were going back and forth for the con on one of those bird scooters?
Yeah.
Dude, you're brave. But
I do not endorse this, and also don't actually get on the highway. There was a road that had an exit to the highway though, and that was horrifying. I was just like, well, I could die here in costume, like
horrifying. We'll roll with it. And speaking of Dragon Con and car troubles, on the way to Dragon Con, we were about 2 hours out from Atlanta, so 4 or 5 hours into our drive, and our tire just exploded. It just went pop. My wife was driving. I was in the passenger seat playing on the Steam Deck, and I just fell. And I'm like, our tire is gone. And luckily there was we never lost control of the car or anything, so that's great. Got off to the side of the road fairly safely. That's always fun to be stuck on the side of the highway. But tire's just gone. Rim is destroyed. There's a puncture hole in the rim. Scariest thing I've ever seen. Got that towed. Got a rental car for the rest of the weekend to go to Dragon Con and all that fun stuff. Rented a U-Haul and a trailer to drive back from Georgia to Florida, making that 6-hour drive closer to 9. And it was so much fun.
Y'all only got to see we were just dried out husks of humans by the time y'all made it by Sunday evening.
If it's any consolation, Oh yeah, I guess no. We got there. We got to Atlanta Saturday, and we did finally see you Sunday because you were Sunday evening because you were a Husk of a Human. Um, but hey, if it's any consolation, so were we.
Just for very different reasons.
Yeah, yours more fun. Ours so much more hectic, and like we were on a vacation. We didn't want to do that much adulting. Having to figure out what to do with a car.
I need to do some more adulting. I'm way too old for this stuff.
Do it while you can, man.
That's fair. That's a good point.
Fair enough.
So
for speaking of fun vacation stuff, I did get a new tattoo.
Oh, tattoo, nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got me and the wife got matching little Triforce tattoos on our arms there.
For your third anniversary? That's
third
so
anniversary.
So adorable. Oh, okay. So yes, car troubles and meeting in person and Dragon Con, all that fun stuff. But hey, we're here to talk about Pokemon because we all know that's what's truly important in life.
It is.
Something like that. So Sheldon, welcome back. It's been a little bit. I don't even remember, Rowan, what we talked about last episode. But the plan for that episode last
episode was it the off series?
It was off series, yes, you're right.
Spike Myth / Series 9 Nomax. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was like the format was called Spike Myth when we talked about it last week. But yeah, so like the two major series that are going on now. But that's pretty much all I'm gonna be playing at this point.
Which makes sense because that's the gym that doesn't have a Dynamax power spot. So very cute name for it. Good job.
They had a little they also did a little one of those little weekend tournaments, that they kind of random do, and that's what it was Spike Myth. It was no Dynamax.
There's a lot of like ladder tours and tournaments and like little things going on. I'm
saying it was the official one though. I can't remember what it was.
Was there an official one?
Yeah,
but it was singles only. So
it was like the Pikachu one that they had, or the Magikarp.
Right, I completely missed that.
Yeah, it was just a weekend thing though.
Okay, cool. Well, glad that happened. Yeah. So one of the things that we were thinking about talking about before, and we'll go ahead and do this week, is just kind of going through and reminiscing on the different series of Gen 8, Sword and Shield, the last 3 years of this game, and talking about those.
Yeah, I mean, Gen 8 is over.
Gen 8.
Yep. It is pretty much, it is done.
Series 13 is still here. It's not.
It's still here.
It's not
even
over.
It's not even unfun. I just don't want to take it seriously, I guess. Right?
That's very fair.
Like the games can still have some hijinks. I'll still be amused with them, right? But
I don't even think Series 13 is that bad, honestly. Yeah. I'm over playing with the restricteds. We had Series 12 for 7 months, I don't know, forever. Especially how we were used to every 2 months you got to change up.
From February 1st through August 1st. So
yeah, we were spoiled. We were spoiled.
Yeah,
August
we were, because they kept it fresh, and we always had something new, and then we just get stuck with the same one, and we're like, oh man, this sucks.
I mean, I'll say it one more time to squeeze the last little bit of juice out of that joke, but we've only done this podcast in Series 12 until the last 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's long. And I agree though. I'm really looking forward to regional dex formats.
Yes.
Like the early seasons of this game. Like looking back at what these series are, the earlier ones, I am honestly that much more excited for whatever comes out of Scarlet and Violet Series 1. Which let's dive into it, shall we?
All right. So Series 1, but the other Series 1, the one that we have already experienced.
Yeah, Series 1 from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I didn't really even start playing for real. I did my first, I think my very first ladder games in Series 4, and then actually started trying in Series 5 and wasn't serious until 6 or 7. Let me
see if I can try and suss out when that was for me, because I think I was in Series 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think my first laddering started Series 2, but it was also, I started on the singles ladder. That's where I started.
You're one of those. Ooh.
Yeah. It might have been Series 1. I need to go. So I think it's still on on your like home battle records. I'd have to go back and look. But I mean, some of the teams were bad, man.
No, I mean, I have some teams left over from Showdown, and I like didn't even bother differentiating between.
I didn't even know what Showdown was. I didn't even know what Showdown was then.
Really? Yeah, I guess I forget because y'all had no prior thoughts, experience, or anything for competitive Pokemon before Gen 8.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember. So I guess so. For the viewers, the difference between Series 1 through 4, this was all the pre DLC.
How
like
many
formats.
Gigantamax you have?
Yeah, and the only difference between them were which Gmax mons were allowed. So they actually gated you from using certain Gmax mons to start with, and then they expanded it.
Well, like one was none. So Series 1 was no Gmax whatsoever.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
Two, they was kind of. I mean, you had Charizard. That was the big one. I just remember people talking back then too. It's like, do you want Charizard's Gmax? Because I mean, you can set up the sun by itself without it. So that's got to be better. That's got to be better, right? But no, the damage.
Really underestimated.
We did. Idea. I'm trying to find my battle records on home real quick while we're doing this too.
For me, the biggest thing in all those first 4 formats was Ted, though. Like the first team I played that actually had some success I had was so it was Tyranitar, Excadrill, and
Dragapult,
and Togekiss. And then I also had Dragapult.
Ted was Dragapult, yeah.
Yeah, Togekiss, Excadrill, Dragapult. Obviously, you put in T-Tar for the sand, and then I had a Mimikyu to proc a weakness policy on a Dragapult, and then just Milotic just because, just as like a bulky mon.
It was good back then.
Yeah, and just like sometimes I would just coil and hypnosis people. But yeah, I mean, like I didn't really know what I was doing at that point, but that core was just so powerful that you could like kind of sweep people without really knowing what you were doing.
Yeah, especially Excadrill at the start. You had Excadrill. Yeah, Durant was massive in those early formats. Like it was so hard to deal with back then.
Sheldon and I were just talking before we're recording, looking at the Collinsville regional. The one regional I think that existed.
We had that and Oceania. I know were some of the big ones. Didn't Butterfree win Oceania or something? I can't remember.
I have to look. But yeah, Durant was one of the champions of Collinsville. That was way back then. And this team, I just want to say it real quick. It was Sylveon, Milotic, Tyranitar, Durant, Gothitelle, and Arcanine.
That sounds fun. Those are all like decent mons, honestly.
But think about it. Like in today's meta game, it's terrible.
You would get just utterly sat on. Yeah, it would not be good.
It's so funny to think like this is a winning team in that series.
Like even for 9, yeah. I mean the expansions just opened up the power creep so much. Hard. I think that was like the last time that hard Trick Room was really like genuinely doable too. Like there's always been hard Trick Room teams, but series 1 through 4 were the times when like you didn't even bother to have another mode, right? You had like you had the Indeedee Hatterene, and then like Rhyperior was huge. Dusclops was like unkillable.
Wolfie was a runner up there with Dusclops and just a hard Trick Room team.
I had a hard Trick Room team. So yeah, it was literally Dusclops, Rhyperior, Torkoal, Butterfree, and then Indeedee Hat. And like you could do all kinds of nonsense like accurate sleep powder or rage powder if you want. You
could not get rid of a Dusclops back in that. Like in the regional decks, there's no way to get rid of a Dusclops. I remember
thinking like one of the big calcs was that Life Orb Adamant Pult couldn't OHKO it.
Yep.
I mean, and then you just pain split, get your health back, ally switch. No one knew no one knew how to deal with ally switch back then either at the start. Like
proc something's weakness policy, like
the Rhyperior,
break,
and you couldn't knock out a Rhyperior because of its solid rock ability. So
I would love to see what people would come up with for that series now. I think that everybody was just so new to the idea of Dynamax that just like you would run away with games with just weakness policy proc plus Dynamax, and people would be like, well, I guess I'm dead because I didn't see this coming. Why didn't you see it coming though?
On that note, I'm super excited to see what people do in Gen 9 with Terastallization because it's going to be the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We're going to go into this in November, I guess, whatever, competitive starts in January. We're going to go into this and not have any idea how to deal with terrestrialization, how to brew properly to like make a good team with it. It's gonna be super cool to see what happens over the next year or so of the game because of that.
The very first is just gonna be wild though, because
Wild West.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
It will be. I'm looking forward to
it. That is kind of what I'm enjoying about this Spike Myth thing, though, is that nobody really knows what's actually good in this yet. It's kind of a shame that this wasn't the Series 13. It's like, I'm trying all kinds of wacky stuff. I didn't think Naganadel was a real thing, and it's like, no, this is a really strong Pokemon.
Yeah,
sure.
It just doesn't work in a max format where everything has max Quake and
yeah, exactly.
Like that stuff like gatekeeps things hard.
Yeah, I'm getting good use out of Dragonite again. Like it's been a good time.
Ooh, that must be
like
fun.
The beginning of a format's always great. And like the beginning of a gimmick, like what we're talking about, like I bet you that the teams that do well in early Scarlet and Violet are going to be like considered trash later on. People will just like find one gimmick that's exploitable. And
sure. Absolutely.
Eventually people will learn to play around it. Like that weakness policy stuff we were talking about now, like good players will recognize when it could be a weakness policy and like not touch the super effective button like with a 10-foot pole until they know.
Yep. Well, I mean, even like looking back at old series like Series 5, no one knew how to use Urshifu. Yeah. Like, no, we did not realize how good Urshifu was at the start of Series 5. Like, no one did.
Probably not even until the end of like Series 6.
Speaking of,
7 was...
Series 5 is the introduction of Isle of Armor. We've gotten through 4 so far.
I will say, I want to double back though, like, as far as like the big moments though, because like, getting like Colossal in Series 3. That and Lapras.
You just have a soft spot for that, Mom.
I will talk about Colossal all I can.
Not that I disagree.
It was introduced so early, and it was a monster pretty much up until the restrictions were introduced. Like,
I mean, Sheldon said it at some point in the past. Like, if we had regionals and stuff early on for in the first
Colossal would have won. Colossal would have won a lot.
Yep. Like the Mon look out for.
Yeah, that would have been your new chalk. You would have seen nothing but Colossal teams win in regionals. Because it was so good because you either ran that or you ran Lapras in those early series.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. So I'm looking at my Isle of Armor folder. I keep all my teams in like format folders.
So much more organized than I am.
I am like strangely organized on this one, like way more than I do for anything else in my life. But all these teams are wacky. Like I was having a great time just team building nonsense at the time because I had no idea what was actually good. I have a team with Jolteon and Raichu. I think I did this on the ATX, like the Austin, Texas stream, and won a set with it. You lead Jolteon and Raichu, and then they discharge into each other.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
So I just get power and power to like
the Jolteon's faster. It does discharge. It beefs up Raichu's lightning rod, who then in turn does another discharge and heals up Jolteon's life orb chip, and they both just do insane spread damage and don't touch each other.
That seems dirty.
And they're fast. Like back then, there wasn't that much that was like.
Yeah.
There was no Regieleki.
I mean, Dragapult was still the king of speed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If they had, and it was a slow team with a T-Tar otherwise. So like, if I saw a Pult, I would be doing another mode. But it was pretty cute. I love that stuff. I had okay, what else was there? There was a Gengar with Sludge Wave that liked to open next to a Corviknight and a Telepathy Gardevoir.
Okay.
And then the Gardevoir also had Shadow Sneak to proc my Dragapult's weakness policy.
Sounds legit.
Yeah.
This was like wacky stuff. You could get away with this back then. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, when the power is not so with the restricted, like the power's so high, you can't. Like your margins of error are just so small, you can't.
Yeah.
Just throw something fun out there like that. So I definitely missed all of that.
What else was there? I did a Scarf Braviary. So, like the idea is you lead with your Defiant Braviary that's Scarf, and then and it has Tailwind. So if they don't give you a Defiant boost, then you click Tailwind and let your other mon sweep. But if they do, then you just max it and negate the Scarf and start sweeping with your +1 Braviary.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I have bad memories of Series 5 though, man. Because that was the first.
That was
in
Series 5.
Oh, it was the first Players Cup. Was in Series 5 format.
Oh, and wow! Yeah,
that was the one you qualified for, right?
Yeah, that was the first one. I qualified for the first two, But that one, man, because it was going to be Series 5, and we got the Isle of Armor like 2 weeks maybe, or something like 10 days, I think, before the Players' Cup.
Oh, yeah, so you have to keep playing.
So, like, well, no, but it was Series 5, so you had like 10 days or something like that to test it. Like, actually test on cart, you know, get the bonds and all. You had like 10 days to actually figure this kind of format out. And, and they're like, oh, yeah, here, you're playing Marcus Stratter. Have fun. Like,
Yep.
and I brought this hard trick room team too that freaking was doing great on Showdown.
And not when you play like an actual professional who's like,
I remember I ran out of items, and so I just slapped a weakness policy on my Incineroar because I was like, why not?
Did it proc? Like,
no, it was open team sheet.
Oh, okay.
That's right. I forgot they did open team sheets.
Yeah.
It was a fun team though, because it was like, it was mostly Gmax Hatterene. Vikavolt was a big part of the team, so I mean, it was a fun team.
Vikavolt was big for Trick Room way back in the day.
Yeah.
So what's kind of crazy though is that like Crown Tundra did not have that much of a gap until it between it and Isle of Armor. So we really only got this format for 3 months?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when
I do think it would
Crown? Was that 6 or 7?
Sorry, no. So
Crown was 7. So we got Isle of Armor in June.
It was the ban list. We had Series 6 in the middle.
That's right.
So yeah, what I will say is I do think like we got to experiment and do a bunch of wacky stuff in this, but I think we got to do wacky stuff in every format at the beginning, and then people realized like, wait a second, like this is what's good. And I do think Series 5 would have ended up the same way. Like Sunroom was just supreme. Like you could do like
Venacol.
Venacol mixed with T-Tar and Dusclops and Ixen and insert your 6th support mon here was just very, very powerful.
I mean, you could have slapped a Charizard. Like, we would be slapping Charizard on it nowadays, like, or Grimmsnarl or something,
Charizard, Grimmsnarl, Togekiss was still solid. Like, it...
But yeah, that's...
It's interesting to think that, we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but with the constant change and addition of these series, right, and how they either change the pool of mons or change... which mons can Gigantamax, yada yada yada, all these. You're right. Until you have a 6 month of dual restricteds, you have a lot of chance to experiment and play and have more variety of teams. It seems more variety of cores, more variety of I hate to say gimmicks, but like main things. Strategies. That's the actual word.
But that's the nature of restricteds too, though, because
it's gonna really limit.
You have to have 2. You have to put 2 on your team, or you're just at a immediate disadvantage.
And you have to have 2 that play together.
Yes, you can't just slap on
complement each other. Yes,
and you can't just slap on any 2 because there's a vast power difference in a lot of the restricteds.
Between
even
them, yeah. Yep. I think that that it forces the game into archetypes. Like yes, there's a big difference between a lot of different Zacian Kyogre teams, and like you do play them differently, but they are also all Zacian Kyogre teams. Like they have the same general win con. Like some of them want to max and some of them don't, but like they're just broad categories. You think about the metagame in terms of restricted pairings and not about the other 4 mons.
Yep,
like,
right. Because they're impactful, but also
you know what's coming, kind of, right? Like what you were just saying, Rowan. You know when you see Zacian Kyogre is gonna be a pretty offensive team. And if you see anything else, it's not a Zacian Kyogre team.
I don't think it's bad anyway. I think it just like it changes how you think about it, because on one hand, like, okay, so you can have like 80 Screens Ogre versus like Whimsicott Mystic Water Ogre, and those are total, and they both have Zacian, and those are totally different teams. They play totally differently. You handle them totally differently, but like I think they take a lot of the same skill set, and I don't know, like I think about all my Rain matchups in one of my few brain cells, right? Like and whereas with this kind of format, it's just anything goes. It gets, there are a lot of different archetypes to it that are like not so cleanly defined. I think this applies even more to Series 6, but we can jump onto that in a second.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fine time to do so.
Yeah. So this was a really polarizing format. I loved it at the time. In retrospect, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But I think it was really fun, and I think they should do it better in the future. So for anybody who wasn't here for Series 6, it was when they took Series 5, they took the Isle of Armor decks, and they banned the top 10 used mons.
From both
singles and doubles.
From both
yes.
singles and doubles. So that was poorly done. It
Yeah.
probably should have gone more than 10, to be honest, because like they mostly just centralized it around the next 10 to 20 mons in usage. Or maybe like, you know, just pick and choose the ones that were actually the most disruptive to the metagame as opposed to the ones that like might have been common partners. It's kind of like, I mean, Incineroar is pretty centralizing, but like Incineroar is good because it's glue, and there were a lot of mons like that who just got put out because they're glue, and then you have a bunch of cores that no longer work. Like Whimsicott was like a huge like kind of a casualty of this, and like I don't think Whimsicott was really game breaking, but then you put that out and now everything revolves around Talonflame. It was interesting though. I a lot of my favorite like just fun gimmick teams came off of this, and I had teams where I managed to make like Flygon work. What was it? Stoutland plus Gigalith was like a really cute combo that people were using that you're never going to see that again. I had like a Dugtrio plus Tentacruel team. I
remember Tentacruel, people slapping Tentacruel around.
Right.
Yeah, because you had Arena Trap and like really fast bulldoze onto like
and Clear Body.
Yep. Yeah, until Metagross came out, like Tentacruel was the only like real target for Clear Body bulldoze weakness policy stuff.
So just real quick to mention the banned Pokemon, because some of them are gonna be wild. So Venusaur, sure. Gyarados, okay. Porygon 2, sure. Tyranitar, okay. Torkoal, Hippowdon.
So Gyarados
Magnezone?
and Hippowdon
and Magnezone.
Those are all singles.
I was gonna say that has to be singles, right? Yeah.
Those three were the main like single ones that didn't overlap with VGC.
That makes so much
they're
more
pretty
sense.
much showing that they have no separation between the two in terms of however they've coded their ladder. So they're just like, we've got to do all of it.
Maybe for their stats. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, it's how they code this. So that's why we end up with like some weird situations with the like singles and
this is the
doubles.
biggest one that would have come from Swish, I think. Swish, whatever. Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
But to continue, Togekiss, Excadrill, Whimsicott, Incineroar, Mimikyu, Rillaboom, Cinderace, Indeedee, and Dragapult. All of those make sense.
Yeah. I mean, they were all very strong. And like the teams that came out of it were like, they were fun, right? Like, Goodra was huge, like you were saying. You have like
Porygon Z,
team.
Porygon Z, Clefairy.
So PZ Clef was huge, and I think people like ended up like it was so strong that everybody just learned to counter it within the first couple of weeks.
Yeah,
it's like
but it was a strong.
Screens.
It was a strong little core though. Those two were.
Yeah.
I'm just here looking at Pikalytics at the usage stats. So Amoonguss was actually the top mon of Series 6 at 37%. 37%. Yeah. And Urshifu.
Yeah. That was kind of where people learned that Urshifu was so good. It was like when it didn't get banned, like, wait a second.
Primarina was actually number 4.
Primarina was probably the
because
king of that one.
Because Urshifu couldn't touch it, so.
Well, it was also just so bulky. There was no Rillaboom to keep it in check. So it was just you max that thing behind screens. There was nothing left unbanned that.
It's also the superior weakness policy proc on Cole. Because you won't KO your own Colossal with a Primarina.
Yep, you could proc Cole. You could run Assault Vest and be like borderline indestructible. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
There were also like that Dracozolt was absolutely huge.
Dracozolt was too. Yeah.
Dracozolt did really
up
well
there in that list though.
That was what
like 12th on the list.
Yeah, it was just like one of the best Dynamax targets. Like I was having success with Blastoise, and that was still back when everybody thought Blastoise was terrible. And so I was like, man, this is crazy. I'm having a great time with this bad mon that I love. And later found out, I was like, no, it was good the whole time.
Blastoise is a world champion.
A senior world champion, but
still
a world champ nonetheless. Charizard is it?
Juniors. I think it was juniors.
Charizard is it?
Okay.
So
Venusaur was the senior.
Yeah, sucks to be you, Charizard. Okay, so that's 6. 6 was fun.
Yeah.
I do remember. I do remember 6.
I do hope. I wish they would just do it better in the future because there's like
have the separation. Have the right
we're
separation.
all waxing.
Like I get they use. I guess
I
get that they use the like usage stats. Like I can kind of understand it's a simple way, but it's just it needed to be more I guess, aware
Yeah,
of the format.
They have to have the distinguish the difference.
Because some things like could have done without being banned. It would have been fine, or other things.
I think they should have banned more, honestly. Like,
yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, like if it overlapped, like you just give it to one of them and ban more on top of that.
Get rid of Amoonguss, get rid
Because
of
like a lot of these were
Charizard,
banned, both
too.
in singles and doubles for the reason.
But
because
we're all talking about how much we want to play in a regional decks, and like,
well, because like Whimsicott wouldn't have been banned in singles for any reason. Like Whimsicott wouldn't be used in singles.
All right, do we want to move on?
Yeah.
So that was 6. Looking at 7. So we have all those mons back. We have, this is Crown Tundra.
Crown Tundra.
We have the new Galarian Burbs.
This was my favorite format of Sword and Shield.
Ooh, yeah. Tell me more.
I mean, so this was the first one where I actually started like really taking the game somewhat seriously. Like, I don't know. I'm looking back at my teams now, and like, honestly, I don't think I'd play any of these because we got to play it twice, right? So the first one was just total Wild West. We got access to all this power creep and all these different legendaries, and some of them ended up good and some of them ended up bad, but you tried all of them, right? And like my first set of teams is wild. I have like Raikou and Suicune and both the Lottie twins, and I did like what was it? Okay, Scarf coaching Galarian Zapdos was really cute because you could basically the same thing I was talking about with Tailwind on Scarf.
I've seen that though. Yeah, I've seen the Scarf coaching.
So you can Scarf coaching your Dragapult, and then but if they lead with Incineroar or something, then you just max the Galarian Zapdos and just murder the Incineroar with like max fighting. Like it was pretty cool, and like Glastrier was king. That stuff was really cool too. Like I don't know. I haven't got this was the first Players Cup I qualified for. I managed to do that with a Dragonite, which was pretty neat.
Very good. Oh
man, I have nightmares too from that qualifier because I was going to be fancy using incense on my Grimmsnarl, but instead of the lax incense, I used a full incense.
Other way around.
Is it other way around?
Yeah.
Whatever was the accuracy, the bright powder. Yeah, that's what my Grimmsnarl had. I did win a game because Landorus missed an earthquake on my Grimmsnarl, but
nice.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
Task failed successful. Okay. 7 was fun. We'll talk about 7 again in a moment, but so what was Series 8?
So Series 8 was when we got to use restricteds for the first time, but they gave us one restricted.
One restricted.
Yes.
Yeah. This was probably my least favorite format if I had to choose one. Like
Same.
It eventually centered around some stuff that you could do. Like this is the first format where people really realized that Blastoise was like something, I think. Maybe somewhat in 7, but really in 8 was when they realized it was good, and then once we got 7 back again in 9, like they kept it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. There's some cute stuff, but it centralized really fast.
Yeah, I remember the format starting. Lapdog was like the big thing. Everyone was running Lapdog.
Yeah.
Yep.
It started out with Lapdog. Tornogre was huge.
This
and
is
then
the only
people found out Sun was good.
This is the only series where Regigigas really had any sort of play, I think.
Gigas was a good in 7 and 9 as well.
Yeah.
Because Gigas is not a restricted, so you could use
good
it.
Point.
You could use it in 7 and 9.
But
yeah, it definitely had a spot in 8 and 11 as well.
Right. I'm looking at the thumbnail, and I mean not thumbnail, little thing for it on Philly, and it has
weird
Gigas
they put.
I'm like, oh yeah, Gigas is there. Gigas isn't restricted.
Yeah, it's weird they put Regigigas up there, but
yeah, I guess I thought it wasn't restricted. Okay. Well,
they're saying use those two together. Use Spectrier and Gigas together.
Yeah,
I thought I had some fun at the start of 8 when it was kind of before it centralized. I thought it was. Yeah. I enjoyed it more then, and once it kind of centralized, I kind of lost some favor with it.
But it had the issue like a single restricted. We've talked about this. Is just like is kind of just worse for the game because if you have a matchup where your restricted matches up poorly into theirs or into their team as a whole, then you can't bring it, and you are inherently at a massive disadvantage if you can't bring yours and they can bring theirs. Like, it's a little better if you get one restricted and they get two. Like, fine, you can play around with these.
That was the odd thing. I had fun with this series though, was like dealing with that whole situation, because I ran Xerneas the whole time.
Yeah,
like during
which
series.
meant you just didn't bring that if they had.
Which most games I did not bring Xerneas at all. It was just there to make you. If you didn't respect it, then I'm going to sweep with it. But if but the rest of the team was just to beat everything else that Xerneas couldn't touch, which was fun because we had the Pokepod Cup during Series 8.
No, it was Series 7.
It was Series no, it was Series 8 because maybe it was the second one then. So I used Xerneas in one of them, and I remember I went through the whole thing like undefeated for the most part with Xerneas. The only set I lost was the one against Tiki, like in the top 4, top 8 or something like that.
Nice.
But I think I brought Xerneas to like 2 games the entire run. Everything else was Rotom Heat and Rillaboom.
Did you all play the Players Cup in Series 8?
I did not.
This is the one I did with Lapdog, and it was painful.
They did. Series 8 was Players Cup,
it was
right?
Players Cup 4. Players Cup 4, the qualifiers were in Series 8.
That's the one Santino won, right? Or Wolfie. Wolfie won that one. Colossal. In Yveltal.
Wolfie won it with Colossal when it went back to Series 9 after everything. But yeah.
I don't remember. It all blends together.
What was I going to say? Yeah, no, PC4, I did that with Lapdog, and that was painful. That was such a slow team. You just grind every game down, and you're supposed to be grinding games on ladder, and you lose 1 to RNG. It's like, all right, time to play 2 more, like, 20-minute games to make up for that. Painful. Yeah, I only do hyper offense on ladder tours now.
Yeah, that's a smart thing, because it's a grind to play some teams sometimes.
To play so many games in one day, absolutely.
Like our little battle we got to commentate over. Good grief, you talk about a grind fest.
I haven't even looked at that yet. Hold on.
I think we should prioritize our tournament games over that, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of great games in the battle corner that are.
Yeah, no, we got a lot we gotta get on top of.
Yeah, spoilers. We have work to do. But moving on to the next series.
Series 10.
Series 9 is Series 7 to Electric Blue.
Right.
2.0. Yeah.
So I said, we get Series 7 again.
That's fair. And this was really cool because it was the first kind of hint of a format that we could actually refine to a degree. Like, we eventually got it with 11 on 8 and then even more with 12. But, like, this was where people, like, they already knew it worked. And so they're like, okay, let's go into this format, like, with some new ideas, but refining our old ideas, and it ended up with just like really cool stuff right out the bat. Like you had like hyper offensive P2 coming out to like wreck up ladder tours. I think multiple Players Cups were topped by a Porygon 2 that just always maxed turn 1 and like did big tiers. I had a bunch of really fun teams on this. I think this was I won my qualifier for Little Root in this one. Like Metagross was huge again. Like it was good. And then Registeel was like a huge star in this. Yeah. Like people didn't really realize how good Registeel was until the second round of this format. And it's like there's no Zacian anymore, so Sacred Sword does nothing. This is better Ferrothorn. Like you can do Amnesia as well.
Yep. You're not 4 times weak to fire.
Yeah, exactly. And once you do one Amnesia and you're not 4 times weak and it has base 150 in both of its defenses, it's like you're not touching this. Like,
body press hits hard.
yeah, off of base 150, it was nuts.
It's very good. So that's 9. 10 is
10 was no restricted.
No, 10 was one restricted, no max.
Sorry,
no max.
No max. No max, one restricted.
Yep.
So kind of the same problem with 8 is just like you get very centralized around like if you're gonna have matchups where you can't bring your restricted, you almost like just only want to choose restricteds that can come to basically everything. And Xerneas was at least the exception to some degree, and like it was so strong that some people dealt with the Zacian weakness, but in general, it's just I don't know. I think Xerneas fell off like towards the end as like the really top tier. It was one of the big 4, but it wasn't. It wasn't in contention for top 1 restricted.
Because and it takes a little bit more delicate touch to run something like that when you only have 1 restricted.
Yeah. I mean, I was big on Zacian or Calyrex Shadow during that format.
It's also rough when you don't have the option to Dynamax to recover from a poor restricted matchup.
Yeah.
So at least you have an
Not getting
option.
that double HP.
Yep.
But it was really cool seeing this format because people finally got to show like which mons were hurt by Dynamax and which ones had like really cool interactions. Like me and Xiao suddenly became huge. Like it had such good synergy with Calyrex Shadow.
Actually, correction. In this series, no Pokemon suddenly became huge.
Oh. Hey.
Sorry, I had to. I had that joke like queued up.
Good podcast, guys. Good podcast. Good podcast. I'll see y'all next week.
All right. Waiting for the right moment to strike. Okay. But yeah, sorry. Go on. Continue. I probably ruined your train of thought.
No, it's Mienshao, right? Yeah. So like Mienshao was okay. So what does Calyrex Shadow hate? Hates Ixen. Mienshao is immune to fake out, and close combat will just kill an Ixen in one go. And it can feint to break people's protect, so you get hit by the Astral Barrage anyway. Yep. And it can wide guard against other Calyrex Shadow, who are your biggest problem because you're 4 times weak to them as well. So like it was just wild. Like you could see stuff like that all over the place. Serena was massive. Like it's Serena's really big in Spike Myth too now, but like stopping all priority in a format that just turned into fake out wars was big. And then that was a great partner with Scarf Kyogre. Like that Kyogre ended up being the king of that format. Like just nobody figured it out till the end when Santino won the Invitational so easily.
Yep.
He did it with a Weavile too, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I remember that team.
Yeah. I do
Landorus Incarnate as well. Yeah, I was running Landorus I with Substitute, and like you get that sheer power plus the Life Orb, and like Dynamax got rid of.
It's hard. Yep.
Or sheer Force or whatever.
Sheer Force. Yeah, Dynamax. So, you lose that in Dynamax, or you still take your damage and all from Life Orb.
Yeah, it was just super cool seeing stuff like that. Like Landorus I actually ended up being part of my Calyrex Ice matchup, despite having a 4 times weakness to it, because you could set up sub, and then just sub protect, fake out, protect. Like, then suddenly you can nuke it. Like it was really cool to see all these mons that we just hadn't even considered a little bit.
Right.
The earlier formats suddenly be good because we got rid of the mechanic.
It's neat. That was what, 10? So now we're on to 11.
Which
so
just
back,
8 again.
There's 8 again, so back to 1 restricted. And then after that, anything else on that one?
I think people just had realized how good Sun was at the time.
Yeah.
This was where I had my hot dog episode.
Yeah, that's where I rode your coaching coattails, you and Pierre.
Yeah, that was where I got the Little Root Invitational win there with hot dog. Like,
but that hot dog team was just I've never laddered so well in my life except for with that team.
There were literally no losing matchups. It was kind of wild. Like there were even ones, there were no losing ones.
Yeah,
and there were game plans into all the even ones. Just
then. Like it's so difficult to kind of ladder sometimes and everything and stay consistent and all, but with that team, I could just live in the top 100 and on Showdown and just casually, I just had to make sure once a day I go and play a game so I didn't degrade my rating.
And it was a sign.
This was what Torkoal, Charizard, Zacian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Zacian, Torkoal, Venusaur, Charizard, Grimmsnarl, Landorus, Therian.
Yep.
So
that's a good team.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it was just a sign of how bad the format was. I think that's, as much as people clown on Series 12, it was a good format, and that I don't think there's a single team in Series 12 that doesn't have at least one losing matchup, and that was not the case in 11. There were multiple teams that's just okay, the best ones go even and everything else just loses to them.
Yep.
And that's kind of unhealthy. That's the definition of centralizing, and 11 was by the 11 and 9 were the logical conclusions of they were just people actually getting to explore it and realizing we can just do actually busted things, and it took us 3 months to realize that.
And then of course we have our beloved Series 12. Dual restricted. 12. We've had it for 6 months. I think we've talked on it a handful of times in this podcast already. But anything y'all want to say?
I think it's good. I know people are sick of it because it's been going on for so long, and I'm really happy to have stopped. I finally get to stop playing it now. But it is the widest, most, I'm gonna say, balanced. There is no overpowered team in this format. Everything has a counter. and there are a ton of different things you can do. Like,
I think
because there's a massive amount of possible pairings, and a large amount of them are actually pretty solid.
I would say that's probably the positives. That's the pros of this format. And then the counters to that, the negatives end up being that there's just so much power creep where you have to have these two restricteds. You have to have, mons that specifically support them. You do, like we said earlier, think of the metagame in archetypes of what restricteds are you bringing, and the other four are just sort of conjecture to that, right? I don't know. I don't think it's terrible. I think, Sheldon, I think you don't like it, right?
I don't like Series 12, but it's more of a, I guess I don't like the, like, kind of what restricteds do to the whole team building, process. Like how, you already have 6 slots you have available anyway. So now that's really cut down to 4 because you have to give restricteds 2 of those slots.
Yeah.
So,
like, it's interesting though, because you can still, I
hate Zacian, That thing is the biggest.
He's going away.
I know, thankfully.
Maybe not, but
like,
hopefully.
Hopefully, because that thing it's shouldn't have been made. That and Aleki. There's a few mistakes in Gen 8. But...
Okay, I will definitely hold that Aleki is probably broken, needs to be changed between gens, and should not have been made as strong as it was. Zacian was made specifically because of Dynamax. And Zacian is
the only thing that
really scary without Dynamax.
The only thing that bothers me about that though, Zacian is still just as strong in no Dynamax. Like, it doesn't get weaker. You still do the same percentage with the Behemoth Blade unless it's resisted.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's you have the Behemoth Blade, which
like Behemoth Blade does double damage on Dynamax, but
it gets stronger with Dynamax. It does not get weaker without it.
Exactly.
It's still base 100 and 100 accuracy, so it's still really good. Like, most mons would kill for that.
The only downside, is like you're better off clicking Behemoth Blade on a resisted target if it's Dynamaxed. Compared to not, so you lose that little bit of extra damage there, but
look forward to the equivalent of Series 12 in Scarlet and Violet, where we have
I know it's gonna be
steel terrestrialized Zacian with Behemoth Blade.
Yeah, or Pure Fairy or something stupid where.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, I agree with the power creep. I think, like, the big problem with this amount of power is that, like, one mistake means you lose, and that's rough. I think you should have room to make a mistake and then come back from it, and that often doesn't happen in 12.
Yep.
But I think, and I would like bet money on this. I think there are more viable archetypes in Series 12 than any other series.
Oh yeah, no, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think I agree.
But and going back to like my issues with it too, it's more along the lines of where you're allowed to make those mistakes. I think and is what kind of like defines a format to me. Like Series 12, it's almost 100% on the leads is what it feels like.
You definitely have to have a lead that can handle it, but I think it's turn 1 and 2 also, like,
the
amount of 50-50s are rough, and the
game can be over. And I prefer, like, I guess a format that has some wiggle room to be able to pivot and not be fully punished if your lead is just a little off, or one of the things I hate the most in this format is Thunderous. I hate Thunderous. Is it Prankster? Is it Defiant? I don't know. Oh, it's maxing. I guess it's Defiant. I'm screwed. Like,
sure. I think, to be fair,
it's just one of those coin flip kind of, like, saying coin flips, but it's you
can tell a lot based on the team though, and like, that's also what best of 3 is really good for. Is like, you can
best
make an
of 3.
Guess. If they have an Airstream user, then like the chances of besides Thunderous, then the chances of it being Prankster go way up. And if they have a Prankster user, then the chances of it being Defiant are almost 100%, honestly. And like, you can suss it out, kind of change that up, but like, you'll never have like Prankster Thunderous next to Whimsicott, for example, right? Like,
oh, you say that, then you get on the ladder and you're like, oh wait, that's a thing.
Okay, the ladder though is not a very good.
But then you shouldn't be losing to them anyway, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, then you get parried for the rest of the game and you don't know what's going on.
That's fair.
The point it's just something. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the point though is, like, when you were saying, leads and then turn 1 and 0 are important in this series. I agree, but it does not feel super good to switch out and pivot in those early
then you should have
turns.
You should have led better, right? Because like they're
let's say
you
that's
know your matchups. You have to. You can't go into the series blind and just be like, I guess I'll just try this. Like if you go in and you don't know how to handle a well-established archetype, you're gonna lose to it. Like
I like being able to turn my brain off sometimes and just play mines. And like I can't do that in Series 12.
No. You
can't.
You have to
and that's another like part of the problem is like I can't be like, oh wait, I screwed that up. Well, you know what? I can kind of work around it. I can switch. Like Series 12, you can't do that. Like you lose. Like.
It's sweaty. It's try hard for sure.
Yeah,
that's part of what
it. Yeah, and I get that. Like I said, I prefer something a little bit like I like the lower power just because you get that little bit of wiggle room and like I just if I had to think too much sometimes.
Only episode where we've ever tried to talk over each other. Just like very very deeply held opinions.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're fair enough. Yeah, it's fun.
No, but I get what you're saying though, and it's good. It's a good competitive scene. I just don't like having to think about it too much if I have to play it like for ladder and stuff. Like if we're like, if anything, I'm sitting there like grinding on the ladder or something. I want it to be simple. I don't want to think. I don't want to have to like look at each team and like think, okay, well I gotta leave this and this.
I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? Is that like I can do my. You can take your most basic teams like your Crystal Rain versus your Rinya Sun, both just like bulky screens versions of the two weathers, and there is no distinct advantage from one to the other. Those go even. It's just how you play. Like the better player, and maybe the better or maybe the luckier player if we're talking T-Wave, but like in general, the better player will win, and I think that's so cool. And that hasn't. I don't think there's any other format that was really like obviously the better player will win most of the time, but like this was just like at absolute top level. Two players are going to just. It's not going to be lead roulette. They are going to know like these are my lines. I'm going to play them, and then whoever plays better will come out on top.
And I also say like I'm old, and sometimes it takes me a little bit to get the hang of things.
Oh,
so like
same.
So like Series 12, like it's finally started to click for me now that I'm done playing it. Yeah, now it's gone.
So
that's annoying.
Like my Lapras team that I played you against. I played it again today because I didn't want to go and think and have to go relearn a new team and all because I had to sub in for the little root lessons, and I 2-0'd against a basic swordfish. Like they couldn't deal with a Lapras with having a Kartana on the field. Like,
well, that's an interesting thing that comes out of this too, right? Is like you can get really good at this format because you learn all the basic archetypes, and then people pull out wacky stuff, and you have kind of like lost like your ability to look at a weird team you've never seen before and determine what it does and how to counter it has kind of deteriorated because you talk about autopilot. Honestly, with Series 12, I think this is some of the most autopilot I've been on because like
you're talking to a cold player where I'm just clicking surf and vocalith and
not that level of autopilot, but like I play a team and I know this is what I do against each of these things. Like I know if I see these restricted pairings with these support mons, this is what I choose for front and back, and maybe I'll switch it up in a best of 3, but in a ladder, this is what I'm clicking every time. And I got to the point where I was just like that every time, and then if I go on a lose streak and hit low ladder or even mid ladder and people start doing wacky stuff, I'm like, wait, what? Where's my Crystal Rain? What do I do?
That's where I was with. So I took your dog water team, and I did a lot of laddering with that. It was probably 2 months ago, streaming a lot with that, and I got to the point. I was like, I know what to do. It's very easy. It's very autopilot-y. Even against some weird teams, I didn't do too terrible. And I took that or something very similar to that in Little Root. Did really well, autopiloting the whole time, and I'm like, this is great. But like, I agree.
Some teams were better for that than others. Like Swordfish could handle random nonsense. If
he can win games by clicking Water Spout, like that's an advantage.
I'm with you in loving high offense for quick games, quick laddering, all that fun stuff.
Yes.
It's just so nice.
I had some wacky lines. I think one thing I was trying at one point, which was like you had Assault Vest Solgaleo, and you like bluff that you were going for weakness policy Solgaleo, because that's what everybody does, right? But your assault vest, you don't care if you get burned. In fact, you just like stand in the face of things that can burn you, and then you put both your screens up, and then you max and you start doing steel spikes and quakes as you pull in a lefty's Kyogre that's like unreasonably bulky and it's clicking Calm Mind, and so you just get a Kyogre with like +3 in each defense, and then it gets multiple Calm Mind boosts. So it's like, okay, you're never touching this fish that shoots Origin Pulses at +2, like.
Yeah.
You could do cool stuff like that.
there's definitely some fun stuff you can still do.
The wacky stuff would just stomp on it. You know, like, oh no, I have no game plan for things that aren't like meta.
Well, like
Sure.
with mine, like, you know, that Lapras team I've been around, I'm like, why did it take me so long just to realize that I like the Lapras over the Gastrodon?
You hated Lapras.
I hated, and I know. I'm saying that's why it took me. That's why it took me so long.
Propagandist.
I was. I will admit it. I hated Lapras, because I just in a lot of the formats, but like
you hated how defensive it was, how the screens, it's Gmax move. You hated that completely.
I did.
Grimmsnarl is just better Lapras that doesn't use your.
I have won games with this team though with setting up screens with Lapras just to set up Auravel like the same turn just so I can live a hit.
Screens and Lapras, which was wild to me, but I was like, you know what? I almost lost to it, so I can't even talk trash. Like,
because it can work.
I had to watch y'all's video of that.
Like, so like the whole Lapras thing is just because I got tired of having to deal with Thunderous. Because Thunderous can be Thunderous can be a headache for Rinya.
Sure.
Like Charizard isn't necessarily good into it. Well, like nothing's good on the team into it, and Gastrodon is not good into a Thunderous.
The Trick Room team that I was playing was another example of like things where if it was non-meta, you kind of fall apart a bit because like there are very specific leads I do for every major matchup with that Trick Room team that guarantee I'm gonna get Trick Room up turn 1.
Yeah.
And if it's suddenly just like some wacky stuff, I'm like, wait a second, how do I be 100% sure? Because I lose if this doesn't go up.
Yeah.
And so I was always leading Ixen Palkia into your Lapras every time, which made no sense. But you also had a Charizard and Groudon. If you led Charizard, Groudon, and I led anything else, then I lose on turn 1. I just never did.
So that's something I've always loved with VGC though. I like the mind game. I like the team preview game.
Yeah, which meant I had to pull that out despite being stupidly every game.
Team preview is such a fun little game to me because like I can know it and it helps to know the meta, I guess. Like, you know, once you kind of start learning the meta, that gets to be a fun game for me. Is like, okay, I know they want to lead this into me, so now this will always be my lead.
All right. So
that's always a fun little game.
Just like Calywax Rider, I'm going to pull the reins on this a little bit, because we've been talking about Series 12 for as long as Series 12 has been a thing in this episode.
About right.
Might be because it's the best format.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh.
I love it. So now Series 12. And the last series of Sword and Shield is 13, which is still pretty new.
We've already talked about pretty recently.
And we talked about last episode. Unless there's something
we did a whole episode on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you recall.
So
I don't have anything to add.
Fantastic. But yeah.
That's
fun.
Pokemon.
Yeah, that was the most argumentative episode we've ever had, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
We don't feel strongly about many things.
We haven't had one of those in a while.
On so many things too. That's the ticket. I'm sitting back here watching you two argue. It's so much fun.
You ask VGC players about which formats are good and bad. It's so subjective. It's just like,
oh yeah.
So on that note, here's my engagement question for the week, y'all. Put your favorite series and why, and your least favorite series and why, and start some arguments in the comment section below.
Anyone that Cole is viable is the best.
That is
end of argument.
I hope for your sake, Sheldon, that Cole is super viable.
It will be
Scarlet and Violet.
You'll
make it so whether it is or not.
Yeah, I will. I'm taking it to a region. I will take Cole to a region on Scarlet and Violet at some point. I'll figure it out.
It's gonna suffer without Dynamax, I feel.
Oh, it is. It is.
I want
without
to see you do it well.
I'm gonna like scarf like water terrestrialize or whatever into Steam Engine Rock Slide, so you can never be faster than me ever, and just go for flinches.
Okay,
that would be the way to do it.
Fantastically lucky, like you get 30% times 2 every turn.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to save on my luck.
Lucky Dice's secondary effect is that it increases the chances of whatever effects.
Maybe I don't know. I have to find a way to put like Serene Grace on it. We'll go through a very convoluted.
By turn 7 of the game, you have hit your win con.
I will be set up.
Good. Okay.
Let me have this.
That was fun. That was fun. I think it's cool though, because I think the if you sift through the mess of us talking about different formats and opinions, you get a lot of the cool things about VGC. You get
it's been a journey, right? Like it's been such a change over the course of everything.
And for the three of us, with our competitive Pokemon really taking off, in early Sword and Shield, and being able to kind of ride the wave of this game through its life cycle. And now we're going into Scarlet and Violet more prepared. We know what we're going to kind of expect, what we want to do with this new game, with the new formats coming up. It's going to be super cool. I think that has really led to, a lot of us being in that position to understand how this game is played. It's my theory. Sticking to it.
It's a game theory.
That's the wrong YouTube channel, friend.
Oh, whoops.
MatPat's gonna come sue us now. I don't know, if MatPat sues us, I'll be honored.
Right.
Okay. So, on that note, anything else?
I think I'm good tonight.
I'm not asking for final thoughts on series. I'm asking for literally anything else, because we don't want to rehash the last hour.
Well, I guess say I alluded to it earlier, but we are officially out on World Cup.
I meant to ask about that.
Yeah, we dropped in round of 8 against Canada. I actually managed to win my round there, but I lost last week against Singapore. So I guess it all evens out. But yeah, really happy. Just wanted to say like that was
top 8's awesome though.
Really really good teammates. Yeah, no, it was a good result. I got 6-1 for the season, and I got to learn from some like absolutely amazing players. Like there were some like absolute rock stars on that team. Like Raghav and Vishy both went to Worlds, and like it's super cool getting to play with people of that caliber. And I think everybody should like. The U.S. is really hard. It's a problem with World Cup. It's just like everybody we know is in the U.S. and then you have to compete with like Joe UX9 times however many people are on that team.
Yep.
But it was a super cool event.
Yeah, but also they were out in top 8 as well though. So
yeah, actually we tied with the U.S. The U.S. lost to France. So
nice.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think like if nothing else, this event was just done so well, like so professionally.
Yeah.
And I hope we can do more of that for VGC, like in Scarlet and Violet and so forth, like more grassroots events that like really have some like heart and soul behind them.
I mean, certainly the World Cup is a little more than a grassroots event. Just gonna throw that out there.
It's Victory Road. It's
Victory Road
it's really dedicated fans, but it is just fans at the end of the day. Like,
to be fair, of all the people though, like Victory Road is some of the I would have to imagine highest caliber, the people who could do something like that.
Yeah, and they had sponsorship from Elgato. It's a little different, right? But all the same, like
it's just pretty cool in and of itself. Super neat. In other video game news, Splatoon 3 is really good. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I've never been a shooter person, so I never got into it. But like
I've never even touched.
Splatoon 3 is not a shooter. Don't let someone tell you it's a shooter.
Not? Okay, I mean, like I'm a Nintendo fanboy, so I should give it a shot. Probably.
It's Nintendo's shooter, but it's not. You don't have to be good at like FPS games to play.
Just wacky.
Game.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I play enough Smash that I think I should like at least.
I've never touched Splatoon, so.
Oh, that's fun. That's been my weekend is Splatoon, and
very
recovering
nice.
from the last week of work. Anything else, Sheldon?
No, I've just been playing some Teamfight Tactics, I guess, on my phone.
I did download
Did you ever play it?
Nope.
Are you getting ready for the Scarlet and Violet Auto Battler? You gotta practice.
Oh, I hope we get one. I need one.
Well, there is.
Oh no, the auto battling feature.
Well, yeah.
We have a whole trailer to talk about.
There's no spoilers. This is a trailer.
Yeah, it was a trailer.
No, we didn't.
We forgot about the trailer.
I don't know if that's a whole episode of content. No. We can squeeze that in next week. But, I guess sneak peek to that. It's not a real auto battler.
No, it's not an auto chess. It's not auto chess, but it's auto battles.
Yeah.
Send your mon out in a direction and it does its thing.
Which I feel like could be great for grinding experience or something. Just go. I don't have to touch my Switch. Like bye. Like
I'm gonna be watching Netflix and letting my mom go like beat up wild animals in the corner.
Joe Sarabi. It's not his name, but the guy who runs Sarabi
don't listen to Harrison. That's his legal last name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joe
Sarabi
has to be. did make a joke about that of like you send your Pokemon off to auto battle, you look over and you see it's a shiny Pokemon. It's like no.
Yeah.
Like oh.
I wonder. That's why you just sit it down and you don't look at it. So that way you don't know whatever you just.
So you can't be sad.
I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, I don't need to know unless it like shows up in the decks. Like, oh, you saw a shiny.
I wonder if it's gonna work like that. We'll see. Okay. I think that's good. I forget what else is in that trailer. We can touch on anything else we missed on that next episode.
Sounds good.
What's coming up for us for the game corner? Next episodes, next thoughts.
It's gonna be hard. We are in the hard off season now.
We are.
Well, I want to talk about our like Battle Corner competitors. We'll do some stuff about their like we'll cast some of their games. We've got 6 matches submitted so far, so there's a lot of material to work with. And but I'd love to do an episode where we like talk about like some of the best matches there. Like
we should do that.
Just I don't know. Series 13 is like it has not been my jam, but it's cool, and to see like the strategy that people come up with. It's gonna be really neat to see that. Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
I've been starting to do some research and trying to put together material for our How to VGC series. Slowly but surely, that's going to be coming up here soon. So look forward to that, I guess. We got to figure out who our next guest is going to be. Maybe someone from Battle Corner or something we can bring on.
Definitely the winner.
We could host the winner.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
I think our finalists are almost.
I think we have them
confirmed too as of now. We have one finalist. There's a semifinal match going on before that.
Yep. So we'll do something fun for that. Yeah. All right. Is that an episode? I think it's an episode.
Sounds like an episode to me.
Oh, I have my script, Rowan. You're good. So.
I was gonna let it slide this time.
Oh, BS. Anyway,
you'll never know until you do it.
That's fair. That's a good point. Thank you to Game Chops and RobKTA for the use of our theme song Goldenrod Game Corner off the Ultraball album. I have been Harrison. You can find me on Twitter and not so much Twitch anymore. It's just been a while. It's been a busy month. At Row_Ixen on both those platforms. And I have been joined, as always, by
Rowan. You can find me on Twitter, Rowan W Hall, YouTube, just Rowan Hall. I haven't put up anything in a while because, real life, but I am going to be doing recaps of my last 2 World Cup rounds. Then we'll move on into Spikeman stuff.
And this is Sheldon. Find me on Twitter at Captain_Unova and on Twitch at Captain Unova. And also, I have been horrible about being on there because of life.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I've streamed more recently than you have.
Yeah, you have. you definitely have. But
it's just a bunch of 30-year-olds with jobs trying to play children's
I know.
That's so hard.
But I'm planning on streaming this week.
Hey.
Tentatively. Yeah, I need to get back in. I need to get back into the routine and the feel of it.
Do it up. I'll come heckle you from chat.
This whole month is not conducive to a routine for me. But together we've been the Game Corner. You can find us on Twitter at Game Corner VGC. See how I did that? Very good transition. And our Discord link is in the description below and all that fun stuff. Battle Corner is wrapping up. As soon as that's over, we'll probably start planning our next thing. So look forward to that as well. Is that it? That's all my words. That's all my words. Until next time, press start and game on.